Hey, good day, good afternoon, and wherever you are in the world. My name is Marcel Hyde, channel Marcel Mindset.
One, two, three, four.
I want to remind you guys, please hit that subscribe button below, hit that notification bell, because these are episodes that you don't want to miss out on. For those of you out there, if you're lacking in faith, you're lacking in hope, God is there for you. God is willing to guide you and lead you and direct you. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of Marcel Mindset TV. Remember, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button below, and if you get any type of value from this episode today, please share it with someone. Because the objective of this channel is to help people grow, right? And today, we hear the name Jim Rohn, we hear the name Zig Ziglar, we hear Tony Robbins, we hear these speakers out there, right? And we hear the name Sam Demma, okay? And I'd like to say here today that Sam will be among some of those men when we talk about some of the greatest speakers in the world. He's on the come up. And I just recently read his book. I went to Amazon and I purchased his book online, and I read that book, and I've transformed myself. I've transformed myself from reading this man's book. So you're going to want to go and get that book today if you're looking for a transformation in your life. And when you get that book, it's not a book where you want to go and read once. You got to read that book over and over and over again to program yourself. Because this man's way of thinking, his perspective, his mindset is going to change your world and change your life. So I'd like to introduce to the show, Sam Demma.
Let's go. Marcel, it is a huge honor to be here. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. It trips me out to hear those things live on this call, and I'm so honored to be here. So thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, perfect, Sam. Thank you so much for coming on. This guy's extremely busy, so we're honestly grateful that we got him here today on the podcast. All right. So for our audience out there who may not know you yet, who is Sam Demma?
I'm going to speak it into existence. Sam Demma is the most requested speaker in the education space. I've been speaking to students since the age of 17 years old. I'm 23 years old now. It's been a journey. Almost all of my work is doing full school keynote presentations in front of high school students, whether that's in their school buildings or at associations and conferences. I also keynote teacher conventions and talk about how a teacher in my life played a role in helping me rebuild my identity while going through a very difficult transition in my grade 12 year. Aside from work, Sam loves dancing. Sam was a former soccer player, and that was my first dream, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit today, but I like to allow people to say who they think Sam is instead of putting myself in a box. But one of my manifestations and goals is to be one of the most booked and highly requested speakers in the education space, and we're on the come up, as you said, right now to making that a reality.
Yeah, I love that, Sam. And that's the truth. And I like how you said, speak it into existence, and that's what it's all about. And you're doing that, right? So if you don't believe in that, Sam is an example that is possible when you speak things into existence. All right. And I just had the opportunity I actually finished Sam's book this morning at 6 a.m. I finished this guy's book, and I feel like a completely different person. So Sam, my question for you is, what was your objective when you wrote your book, Empty Your Backpack Unpack your beliefs, take consistent action, and create a life of meaning.
When we think about reaching our definition, our personal definition of success, there are only two things that we have control over. And I believe those two things are the beliefs we carry in our backpacks. And when I say backpack, that's an analogy for our minds. And the second thing we have control over is the actions we choose to take.
Wow.
So if you're not getting the results you want to get, you have to ask yourself, what am I choosing to believe and what am I choosing to do? And the beauty is we have control over both of those things. Everything else is external and is very hard to control. We can influence certain things by our beliefs and actions, but we can't change what other people do or what the economy is doing.
Right.
And so I wrote the book to help young people manage their mental health and pursue their passions,
Right.
keeping in mind that the book is split into two sections. Half of it's about empowering, different belief systems that they could carry and giving them some actionable ideas to move forward.
Right.
Why I wrote the book is a totally different story. I do these Instagram lives about once a week.
Yeah.
Try to create a safe space where students can hop on stage and talk about their goals, knowing that they won't be judged and they could be their authentic selves.
Yep.
And this one week, a student joined who I had never spoken to before in person. And I asked him what his dreams were, and he told me his first dream was to be an actor.
Right.
Most of the time in life, when a young person tells you they want to be an actor or something that's very difficult, what is the typical response we give them? Be realistic.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a backup plan. Only
Right.
0.05% of people make it. What I tell young people is that's a very difficult path,
Right.
but I would encourage you to pursue it, because even if you don't achieve it, the person you become in the process will far outweigh reaching the goal of becoming an actor.
That's right.
And I encouraged this young man live to pursue this dream, and everyone was so supportive in the comments. And before he left the stage, he said, Sam, but I have a second goal. And the goal is to have 50,000 followers on social media.
Right.
I got slightly confused. I understand the acting piece, but why 50,000 followers?
Right.
And he said, if I had 50,000 followers, kids at school would stop bullying me and calling me a loser.
Right.
It's like my life is filled with bullies. I hate going to school. I hate myself. He goes completely silent, turns off the camera on his phone.
Right.
And we spend the next 5 minutes, and I say we, meaning everyone on this Instagram live, filling the chat comment section with the most positive stuff. And we stayed connected to this day, and this young man, he's doing okay today. We connected him with his guidance counselors and sent him merchandise in the mail. But I just couldn't stop thinking about how he was allowing the words and opinions of a select few people to stop him from being his authentic self, to stop him from pursuing the things he was passionate about. And I started thinking about how we spend way too much time making our big life decisions, our everyday choices, based on other people's standards and expectations or opinions of us.
Right.
And I started writing down a poem because I was very inspired by Russ and music at the time.
Yep.
And the poem was all about letting go of these expectations and opinions and negative beliefs that other people give to us.
Right.
And then I thought, if we're not letting go, we're holding on. The opposite is holding on. And what do students hold on to every day? A backpack.
Right.
And so the idea of the backpack came to mind, and the poem turned into a book. The book turned into a cross-country journey, which is happening April 3rd. And so that's like that conversation with this grade 10 student is what really inspired the book. Right. But I hope if you choose to read it, it reminds you that what you want is possible if you're willing to do the work of changing your beliefs and taking different action.
Man, that's super inspiring. And I'm telling you, like I said, I actually finished that book this morning, and it's transformative. Like I said.
Thanks, man.
Like I have to say, like, it's just my whole perspective, my whole mindset. I believe so much more that I can make this happen, by reading this book. And it's something where I want to refer to on a monthly basis. I want to go back and read this book over and over again to program my mind in that way. Just love everything that you had put in this book. It's not just inspiring, it's also educational.
Thanks, man.
So obviously, if you found your passion, we can feel your passion through this screen, and today people struggle with kind of finding their passion. So the goal of this channel is to help people, find that passion. So my question is, how did you find your passion, and how can someone find their passion, Sam?
I love using the analogy of a buffet.
Yeah.
How did you find your favorite foods
Right.
that you enjoy eating today? Let's use an example of an all-you-can-eat buffet. You walk into an all-you-can-eat buffet, there's all these different options of food. If you're like me, you grab a plate, you walk around, you start filling your plate with all the different options, you bring it back to a table,
Right.
you start eating each of the options. Some of the things you love, like spaghetti and meatballs,
Right.
and some of the things you hate, like pizza that has pineapples on it.
Right.
And you make a mental note. I want to
Right.
go and get more pasta with meatballs because it tastes good, and I'm not going to pick up any more pizza with pineapples. But how do you actually figure out that you enjoy eating the food? You have to physically eat it, right? Like
Exactly, yeah.
you got to go and you
Exactly.
got to try it. And if you don't try it, you'll never know. And
Yeah.
I think we sometimes overcomplicate finding our passion. I believe the way we find our passion is the same way we figure out the foods we enjoy. We try as many things as we possibly can,
Yep.
in the hope that as we explore and try different things, we land on something that brings us a lot of joy and fulfillment, that allows us to bring 100% of ourselves to the table, to leverage our unique skills and characteristics as a person.
Right.
And we choose to continue pursuing that until we lose passion. And I think that also happens. You will transition. You
Right.
will decide at some point that maybe there's a next step for me. And that's totally okay. Don't worry if your dreams change.
Right.
But I think it's important that we constantly choose to pursue something that brings us some joy and excitement.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like how you said, try as many things as possible. All right. You will never know if you don't try. And you may transition. You may do something for a time period, and then you may transition to something else. All right. So don't be afraid to try. So this is Marcel Mindset TV, and I'm passionate about mindset. Mindset is everything to me. Right. So my question to you is, what does mindset mean to you? And how did you develop a strong mindset?
For me, when I think about the word mindset, the other word that comes to mind is blueprint.
Blueprint.
I totally believe that our beliefs lead to everything else in our lives. There's a book called The Millionaire Mindset by T. Harv. I think it's T. Harv Eker. Have you read it?
Oh yeah, T.R. Becker.
So yeah, so he talks about the acronym BEAR, BEAR. Beliefs lead to our emotions lead to our actions, and our actions lead to our results.
Right.
And if you're not getting the results you want, the thing you got to address is the belief you're carrying.
Right.
I was listening to an Instagram reel last night, and there was this insightful video of a gentleman talking about this idea that if your mind is blind to a possibility because you're carrying a limiting belief, your eyes will never see the opportunity.
Wow.
If your mind is blind to the possibility, your eyes will miss the opportunity. If your eyes are blind, but your mind can see the possibility because it holds a belief that things are possible, you can still make things happen. So I share that because I wholeheartedly believe that our beliefs are our blueprints for everything that happens in our lives.
Wow.
How do you go about creating a better blueprint?
Right.
Start consuming the blueprints and beliefs of other people who are doing the things that one day you want to do.
Exactly.
For me, that started with finding a mentor.
Right.
When I first started speaking, I entered competitions where people in the audience would see me and hope. And I believe you don't find a mentor by sitting down and calling people. I believe you find them when you start journeying down the path.
Right.
You have to take the first couple steps, and that person is going to share so much valuable information to help you build your blueprint.
Exactly.
Because they've already done it. It can also be people that you don't know or people that are not even around anymore. And that comes from reading books and listening to podcast interviews. I have read Russ's book, It's All in Your Head, Get Out of Your Way, like 10 times because I want his blueprint to become a part of my brain.
Exactly.
So I think mindset is really our blueprints, our operating system, our default. When we don't know what to do or when we're striving towards a goal or a dream.
I love that, Sam, honestly. And that's why I said to read your book over and over again, because that blueprint becomes a part of who we are, you know? So
That's true.
we live in this era, right? And our parents may say to us, go to school, and once you go to school, you become successful, you know? So a lot of younger kids, or even people a little bit older, are now saying there's another way to make it, right? So my question to you is formal education, like going to college or university, a determinant of how successful you're going to be?
Hmm. I'll start this answer by saying formal education is amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people online who bash formal education
Right.
as a part of their branding and marketing.
Right.
I think it's a terrible idea because there are certain pathways in life that require lots of formal education, like being a doctor or a dentist. I wouldn't want a doctor to operate on me who hasn't done 500 practice surgeries through formal education. No thanks. No thanks. Right?
Yeah.
But there are so many pathway opportunities that exist
Right.
outside of university if you're doing fields that don't require these extensive amounts of education.
Exactly.
So I always tell students and other people, forget about what everyone's telling you about formal education or not.
Right.
Get very clear on who it is you want to become and what
Right.
your end goal is. And then be as honest and transparent as you possibly can about what the best path would be to get there. Not the easiest path or the more difficult path. What would
Right.
be the best path? And when I sat with myself at 19 years old, I was in my second month of university before I decided to put my studies on hold and temporarily drop out.
Right.
And I haven't returned yet.
Yeah.
But I had to get honest with myself. When I envisioned who Sam Demma was striving to become at that time, it was a speaker in schools. Now, there is no pathway in formal education that's going to help me become that person.
Exactly.
It's such a foreign concept. My parents didn't even understand it when I told them. The best path for me was going to be absorbing the blueprints of other speakers who have been doing this for 20 plus years, flying to conferences related to building speaking businesses, joining associations full of professional speakers. And it was not the easy path. It was difficult, but it was the best pathway for me to take. So if someone is on the fence about formal education or not,
Right.
I would urge them to get clear on who it is they want to become. And if they said, well, I'm not too sure yet, I would say, then you shouldn't be starting school.
Exactly.
Take the time to explore.
Right.
Take the
Right.
time now to explore. And if you find out that you want to be a doctor or a dentist or a university professor, sure, go down that pathway. But don't go down that pathway simply because you see everybody else doing it, which makes you feel like it's the right decision to make.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
I was one of the only students in my grade who took a fifth year and a gap year and then dropped out of university.
Right.
And when all of my friends are finishing their fourth year and I'm in my third year trying to build a business, you feel like you're doing something wrong, especially when things aren't working out at first. And it's not that you're doing something wrong, it's that you're carving your unique journey. And that's what makes life super interesting and fun and an adventure. So don't discount your dreams and your goals, but
Right.
be honest and transparent to figure out what the best pathway would be. And if formal education is the option, then take it. And to bring this answer full circle and actually answer your question, I think the only thing that determines our level of success in life
Yeah.
is the beliefs we carry and the actions we take.
Wow.
I know so many people who haven't gone to gone through formal education and built amazing lives. And I'm not going to say just financially successful because everyone's definition of success is different.
Wow.
But I know people who have done extremely well who haven't gone to university. And you mentioned Jim Rohn at the start of this conversation.
Yeah.
It goes back to one of his quotes. He says, formal education will make you a life. Self-education will make you a fortune.
Wow.
And it's so true because if learning stops, if your learning stops the moment you finish education, you still have 8/10 of your life left to live.
Wow.
It's like, why would you stop learning?
Exactly.
Why would you stop giving yourself new information?
Right.
So building that habit too can really lead to lots of success.
I love that. So for our high school audience out there, I want you guys to listen to the last 2 minutes and show this to your parents as well too, because I know you guys are battling with your parents, right? Some of you are saying you don't want to go to university, but your parents are telling you you have to. So show this clip to your parents, and it might change their mindset.
The
Right?
other thing,
Yeah,
the
go
other
ahead.
thing I'll say real quick is also keep in mind that anyone in your life that's giving you advice is doing so from a place of love.
Yep.
They really want to protect you and they want to make sure that you make the best choices for your future. But their opinions, as are everyone else's, they're based on their own past experiences.
Right.
If someone tells you you shouldn't open a restaurant, it's most likely because they failed trying to do the same thing. And they're now projecting their past belief on you in the form of advice. So when someone tells you you can't do something, you shouldn't do something, silently ask yourself, what must this person's past experience been
Right.
for them to have this belief? And that will help you calm down a little bit and not take it so personally.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I like that. You don't get this word in school that Sam's bringing us here today. All right. So thank you so much. I actually got goosebumps. And most times when I do a podcast, I write so many notes. But for whatever reason, I've maybe wrote a few notes because I'm just listening, observing, and learning right now. I'm growing as a person right now. I feel like I'm in class, just sitting in front of a professor who's teaching me how to become better, how to excel in my life, and how to develop. I can't even write notes. I just want to listen, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. So my next question to you is, how important is setting goals and journaling?
Journaling, quite frankly, changed my life.
Yep.
The reason it changed my life was because there were moments where there was a list of habits that I really wanted to execute on: working out every day, meditating, eating healthy foods, drinking 4 liters of water. And I wouldn't hit all of them. Like some days I would get 2 or 3 done. Some days I was overwhelmed. I wouldn't do any of them. Then I decided to make a concrete promise to myself to execute on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the one I decided to execute on was journaling.
Yep.
And every day I said, no matter what time it is, no matter if I get home at 2 a.m, I'm going to write in my journal about the day before I go to sleep. And I built this bulletproof habit of writing things down, writing my learnings, journaling about the day. And what I found was when I started building self-confidence, when I started building consistency in this one habit, it leaked into all my other habits. I believe that self-confidence is built when we make a promise to ourselves and we follow through. And what subconsciously happens when you actually follow through on the things you want to do, you start to feel good about yourself, and it proves to you that if you can do it with journaling, why can't you do it with meditating too?
Exactly.
Why can't you do it with working out too? So journaling changed my life in 2 ways. One, it forced me to reflect every single day and speed up my own learning process from learning from my own life. But 2, it helped me build the self-confidence and consistency in one habit to seep into all the other habits I was trying to build.
Right.
I have actually my journal right here. This is it's funny. I just finished writing in one, so I'm on like page 2 now. This is like a fresh journal.
Yeah.
And at the start of every journal, I write down, like right before the year starts, what the goals are going to be.
Right.
I haven't actually set them yet,
Yeah.
but I will be setting them soon. I
Right.
think goals are really important because it gives us something to work towards.
Right.
And it's crazy because when I look back, I have some journals from 2017, 2018, 2019. When I read them back, I get goosebumps. Many of the things I wrote about are now a part of my everyday life.
Yep.
That's such a gratifying experience.
Yep.
And the only caveat I'll give about goal setting, and I talk about it a lot in I think it's chapter 4 in the book.
Mm-hmm.
The only caveat I'll give is, and it took me reaching a couple goals to realize this: reaching the goal is not going to bring you personal fulfillment and happiness.
Yeah.
I set myself up for failure a few times where I thought if I hit a certain goal, my life is going to change. And in reality, what happens is you hit the goal, you wake up the next day, and your life is still your life. It's the same.
Yeah.
If you're looking for happiness externally, you're not going to find it. So set goals as a way to motivate yourself to keep moving, but understand that the success is the everyday actions that help you achieve the goal. The actual success is the journey. It's not the destination.
Wow.
So just be cautious so you don't disappoint yourself when you do arrive and it's not what you expected it to be.
I love that answer, Sam. So it is important to set goals and also journal. That can really change your life, right? So there is a concept out there, and I've heard it from Bob Proctor, it was in your book, and I've been researching this concept for a while, and I want my audience to be aware of it because it's such a real thing. So my next question is, what is the reticular activating system, and how has that changed your perspective?
We have this little piece in our brains, and I'm no scientist, by the way. I researched this on the University of Google. Yeah, we have this little piece in our brains called the reticular activating system, and its job 24 hours a day, every day of the year, is to act as a gatekeeper between our subconscious mind and our conscious mind, meaning the thousands of thoughts that our brain is having that we're not aware of every moment of every day, processing information as we live, and the conscious mind, which are the thoughts that we're aware we're having. And if it believes there's something in our environment, the reticular activating system, it will pull it from a subconscious thought and make it a conscious thought because it thinks it's going to be helpful to us. And it sounds weird, so I can give the perfect example. Have you ever played the punch buggy game or the yellow car game?
Oh, yeah.
So what happens the moment you start playing that game? You start seeing punch buggies everywhere.
Yeah.
And someone gets bruised really badly.
Right.
Right. The reality is the punch buggies were always there,
Right.
but your brain didn't know that it was important for you to see them or identify them. So you would glance your eyes over them and it wouldn't pop in your mind as a thought. It was just a passing by car, a passing by thought. The moment you gave your brain the intention to find it, you're now finding them.
Yep.
So I look at the reticular activating system like a magnet, really,
Right. Yeah.
to the things that will help us move forward.
Right.
Another example I could give is by asking you a question. Marcel, if I told you by the end of the day I needed to have $50 or my life was going to end, what are some things you could tell me to do to earn $50?
Oh my gosh. If you said that, you can ask maybe a neighbor, ask a family, sell something
Yep.
in your closet.
Yep.
You got to find a way.
What if I told you by the end of the day I needed $5,000?
Then we got to get even more creative. We got to find a way. We got to see if we can pull family together. We got to see if we got TVs, if we got PS3s.
Yep.
We got to check. We got to find any type of way to get that $5,000 to keep you alive.
We got to sell cars, right?
Like sell cars.
When I ask the $50 question, your mind immediately starts thinking about the $50 activities.
Yep.
The moment I ask the $5,000 question, your mind starts thinking about $5,000 activities. It's just, again, this reticular activating system sometimes sounds confusing, but it's this idea that the information we give our brain, it will consistently scan the environment and search for.
Wow.
And I think that's why it's so important to set goals. Yep. When you decide on some goals that you want to achieve, you give your brain a blueprint to consistently scan your environment and make you conscious of anything around you that might help you move forward or achieve that thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I really like that. That's making me think to look at my environment. If I look at my environment, I don't like what's in my environment. I got to look something inside. Something's not happening inside. I need to rewire something or reprogram something. So I like that. The reticular activating system, that's strong. So we talk about, a lot of people say, follow your gut, follow your intuition. And in your book, you did discuss that. And I'm a firm believer in following your intuition. That it's like an inner voice that speaks to me, right? So my question to you is, what is intuition and how important is it to follow your intuition?
Intuition is the feeling of knowing whether something is the right choice or the wrong choice for you. And I believe you become in touch with it and in tune to it through silence. Meditation has been a big part of my life. I've gotten some of my best ideas and biggest breakthroughs in silence. When no one's talking, when no one's speaking, and you're really just with yourself and your mind. But I think through meditation, there have been situations in my life where I've been thinking about or reflecting on big life choices, and my mind is pulling me in one direction, and you could say it's your heart or your intuition is pulling you in another.
Yep.
And it's almost like a test from the universe at that point, if you're going to follow what you feel is right versus what you think is right. So I think your intuition it's the feeling of, does this make sense for me? Is this really what I want to do? Is this the way that I want to do it? Versus, does this logically make sense?
Yeah.
And I've found that following not my emotions, because you could then say, okay, well, I feel terrible today, so I'm not going to work out. No, this is not the same thing.
Right.
Your intuition would tell you, despite the fact that you feel terrible, you should work out right now. That's your intuition.
Yeah.
Your intuition is that little feeling in your gut that tells you something's off about this business interaction or this specific contract or this person. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't feel right. That's your intuition.
Yeah.
And the opposite is also true. When your intuition pulls you and says, you got to explore this further, Marcel. This could be a crazy opportunity.
Yeah.
But it makes no sense to everybody else.
Exactly.
And I'm going to sound like a lunatic for doing it. That was me dropping out of school to pursue speaking, and it logically made no sense.
Right.
But my intuition told me otherwise. So I think we build that muscle through silence. I think we also build that muscle by following it and actually acting on it. And it sounds a little bit spiritual and out there, but it served me really well. And if you're honest with yourself, there's moments in your life where you feel that same urge. It's just whether you follow it or not.
Yeah. Really, really love that response, because we have that intuition. I feel like sometimes people deny that voice or that intuition that we get, that feeling, so I really like how you clarified that for our audience here today. We do have 2 more questions, but I do want to say this has been phenomenal, Sam. This has been phenomenal. I'm learning so much. I feel like I'm developing on the show. Once this is completed, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to rewatch this over and over and over again to hear what you were saying, to program myself, so I could keep going on this journey that I'm on and keep inspiring people and keep helping people out there in the world. Okay. So my next question for you, Sam, is if someone is struggling with their confidence, what are some tips you can give them to build up their confidence?
The first thing would be to keep a personal commitment you make to yourself. I believe, and I said it earlier, that self-confidence is the result of following through on our silent promises, our personal commitments, because we make promises to everybody else and they know if we follow through, but no one actually knows except for our own mind if we do the things that we personally silently tell ourselves we're going to do. I feel the most confident in my life when I tell myself I'm going to wake up, I'm going to work out, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to journal, I'm going to read, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then actually follow through, because there's no divide between what I'm saying and what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
So if you're lacking confidence, start by choosing one small thing. It could be as simple as spending 10 minutes a day in silence. It could be as simple as going for a walk outside every single day. And no matter what is happening, no matter the weather, no matter how you feel, just follow through on that one thing.
Yep.
And like I explained earlier with journaling, that confidence and consistency will then start to leak into other areas of your life, life. And then you'll start to stack these confidence building habits. And it won't be long before you know it that you will mentally and physically change, because you're taking all these great actions and start to feel a lot better about yourself. So I would say make it super simple. Just start keeping your personal commitments, even if it's just one thing each day at first.
Yeah, I like that. I like that answer, Sam. Thank you very much. And to wrap up the show, we have one final question here to ask Sam. All right. And I hope you guys are really listening to what Sam is delivering here today. And clearly, Sam put the work in on himself. Don't just think he woke up like this. He didn't wake up like this. He put the work in, consistently took small actions. And I'm really understanding that whole concept. He took action daily, right? And he believed in himself. And because of that, the product is here today and he's delivering a message that not only is inspiring me, but is going to inspire the whole world. All right. This is not just for youth. This is for adults too. This is for everyone. Everybody needs to hear this message today, Sam. So my last question is, if you were speaking to a class of grade 12 graduating students, what are 3 things you would tell them to help them on their life journey?
Stop making your decisions based off other people's expectations, standards, and ideas for what you should be doing or what your life should look like.
Yep.
That is a sure way. That is a definite way to make sure that your life lacks meaning and is filled with unhappiness and struggle.
Yep.
The second thing I would tell my grade 12 self, or any grade 12 student, is that your self-worth as a human being does not change based on your success, based on your status, based on achieving the goals that you have. Right. You are a amazing human being, and without any success or anything else in your life, you are enough.
Right.
And I would tell students that because when I was in grade 12, and the dream I had been chasing since I was 5 years old to play pro soccer shattered in front of my face after 2 major knee injuries and 3 surgeries, I felt like I was worthless as a human being. I attached my entire self-worth to my identity as a soccer player. And the moment I could no longer play soccer, it felt like Sam Demma was worthless. Like he had no value to provide the world. And it might not be soccer for grade 12 students today, but maybe it's their grades. Maybe it's getting into a specific university. Maybe it's pleasing their parents. Maybe it's excelling at their hobbies, or, you know, becoming a pro athlete like it was for me. You are enough already. Everything else is just fun games and an adventure. And that's how you should take those things. And then the third thing I would probably tell myself is, life is so short. Make sure that you have fun. Do things that make you smile, that make you laugh, that become memories that you remember for the rest of your life. Don't forget that it's not all about reaching the destination. It's about the journey and enjoying the process. It will be hard and it will be challenging, but enjoy yourself and don't take yourself too seriously.
Amazing. I love that, Sam. That's amazing. And you know what? That's not only for grade 12 students, that's for everybody, because I'm not in grade 12, but that message was for me as well too. And I know that message is for everybody else in the world too. So for our audience and for our people that are going to view this video, how can people reach you? How can they get your book today? Because they need that book today, Sam.
Appreciate it, Marcel. My website is samdemma.com. If there's an educator listening and wanted me to do some speaking for their school or students, that would be the best way to reach out for those services. If you're just looking to connect, ask a question, have a conversation, social media, specifically Instagram, Twitter, my handle is just Sam_Demma. I would love to have a conversation. You can find links to purchase my book there through my own website. I have a store, and those would be signed copies. Or you could go through amazon.ca or .com and just by searching empty your backpack. So I'm here to serve and support. If you have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to chat with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sam. And I'm going to get my signed copy. I got the digital version, but I want my signed copy of Sam Demma. I need that in my bookshelf. I need Sam Demma in my bookshelf, and I will get that copy. So thank you very much, Sam, for coming on the show. You're changing lives day in and day out. So I really respect what you're doing. And you have such a bright future ahead of you. It's humbling to be across from you today here, because you're going to be doing great things. And like I said earlier, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Bob Proctor, he's going to be among those names. Okay? I can guarantee that, based on the path that Sam is on and the things that he is doing and the mindset that Sam has. So you need to go out there and grab his book. It will change your whole perspective, your whole mindset. Sam Demma on the show. I want to thank you so much for coming on.
I'm honored, brother. Thank you so much for having me. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing it.
Brother. Thank you. And remember, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button below. And I know you found a lot of value from this video. So make sure you share the video to someone that you think could benefit. And you know what? Everybody can benefit from the Sam Demma message. You heard it here today. Thank you and all the best. Take care, Sam.
See you, Marcel.